You are listening to the Spiritual Warrior Coach with Barbara Savin, the podcast for discovering how powerful your wisdom, compassion, and courage is. Get ready to join Barbara and her guests as they explore and offer you advice on how to reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And now, here's the host of the show, Barbara Savin.
Well, thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the Spiritual Warrior Coach podcast. I am your host, Barbara Savin, and I am here to help you reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. I am a certified clinical and medical hypnotherapist, Reiki master and teacher, energy healing specialist, life coach, and best-selling author of Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-on Healing. I have been helping my clients for over 35 years, and the older I get, the more wisdom seems to come through. So isn't it time that you believe in yourself? Your mind is going to provide you with your greatest challenges in life because it's so very, very powerful. So let's use it for positive thinking, creating harmony, balance, peace, love, happiness, and anything else that your heart desires. Because one day the world will tap you on your shoulder and say, this is your time to shine. And speaking about shining, wow, my guest today, boy, I can't wait to do this interview with you, Kathy. How are you?
I'm fine, Barbara. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. So let me tell my listeners a little bit about you. M.K. McDonald, who goes by Kathy to her friends, was 53 years old when she was placed on a ventilator and into a drug-induced coma for a pulmonary illness. And for almost 3 weeks, her family prayed as they hovered over her bed in the critical care unit. Meanwhile, her spirit was somewhere else. And it took over 10 years to begin to fathom what she experienced in an afterlife of demons and fear, and then eventually God's loving embrace. And Kathy was sent back for a purpose, and she just didn't know what it was. And after many false starts, she published Misfit In Hell to Heaven Expat to make sense of the dark, distressing NDE and to offer hope and comfort to others. Oh, wow, Kathy. Wow, that is tough.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got a little distance now, so it's not as crazy as it was when it first occurred, because I had no idea what had happened to me. And I had read Embraced by the Light shortly before this all happened. And I just didn't have that huge heaven experience right away. I had that long hell experience first. So I just wasn't sure what happened. And it took me about 10 years to find IANS, which is the International Association of Near-Death Studies. That's full of formerly dead people. And I love them. And it was just my tribe. I thought, oh my goodness, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And they're the ones that prompted me to go ahead and write the book, because only about 12 to 20% of people that have NDEs have distressing ones or something that's disturbing in them. And people are curious. Why? Why does something like that happen? I mean, we're all taught that God is all loving and forgiving, and that's what happens, at least when you're on the other side, that dawns on you clear as a bell. So to end up in hell, it just didn't seem logical, and I'm a very logical person. So I finally, after talking to lots and lots of people and thinking and praying, it dawned on me what had happened.
Wow. So what was your life actually before this near-death experience?
Well, my dad was in the Navy, so from the time I was a little one, we traveled all over. We went on the East Coast, a couple of spots. We were in the Midwest, and then we came out to California. And so I was always the new kid in school. That was tough, but I learned to, find a way to introduce myself and fit in to almost any group, which was, was a good thing to learn. And then I got married when I was quite young, just barely 19, and to a young man that I'd only known for like 5 months or something, because, at 19, you're so smart. And my dad got transferred back to Wichita, Kansas. And I was now a California girl believer, and I was not going back to Kansas. Anybody who's lived there, God bless you. But anyway, that's part of the reason I got married, is I didn't want to go to Kansas, and he wanted to move out of his parents' house. Really a firm foundation. Well, our first child only lived 2 days, and she died of multiple birth defects. And I'd had premonitions, I had dreams while I was carrying her. And this was my first child, so I had nothing to compare it to, but I knew something was terribly wrong. And so when she was born, I had her baptized right away. I wouldn't let them do the surgeries. They were going to try and fix everything. Well, they didn't. And so she died. And I was so angry with God. I mean, to tell you, I thought, hey, I've been a good Catholic girl my whole life. I've done what's been asked of me. I believe in you. And this happens? It was a real crisis of faith for me. And then I felt like God was blackmailing me. If I dropped out of the church or stopped believing, then I'd never see her again. So it was a terrible time. I did go ahead and have 2 more children in quick succession. And my marriage lasted about 10 years. And then I was a single mom with 2 little kids. Had to get a job, and that was fine. I was good at math, so I found a bookkeeping position. And that went on. And then my life got more complicated. I got married to a fellow with 2 kids, and then I had 4 children. I was going to night school to become a real estate broker, and had a day job. So there was too much on my plate. And my husband had a nervous breakdown, and I was left with another divorce.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So now anyway, that I met a wonderful man after that. I got a really good job, and I met a wonderful man, and we were engaged for many years. And then he got a promotion to go to the East Coast, and I had started my own property management company. My kids were in college in California. My family was there. And so for me to sell my business, leave my family and kids, and go, to Chicago, where he was going to work 23 hours a day, that wasn't going to work. So we parted best friends, wished each other well, promised to stay in touch. And he got in touch with me, not too awful long after that. Might've been a year or so. I sold my business by then, and decided at the age of 50, I was going to go do something different, because I'd worked my whole life putting these kids through school and stuff. But he had leukemia.
Oh, God.
And they said there was nothing more they could do for him there. And he was going to come out to Seattle to go to a research hospital, but he needed a couple of caregivers, and would I help him? And I said, you bet. Are you kidding me? So I flew up from California to Seattle, found us a place, and 3 of us moved in, and it was only supposed to be 3 to 5 months. Well, it stretched into 8 or 9. And by the end of that time, the other caregiver had broken her foot. I was taking care of both of them. And it was such a trauma that with the research, one day they're fine, the next day they're terrible. It was just very little sleep. It was nuts. And then he died.
Oh, my.
And I was devastated. I went to LA with a friend to see a concert, and there was a horrible flu going around, and I caught it. And in very short order, it had me on my, just knocked me on my feet. And then by the time I got myself to a doc in the box, it was bad. They had to put me in an ambulance as I stopped breathing, and I'd gotten into pneumonia. And I woke up in the hospital, and because I'd passed out at the doc in the box. And I wondered, what the heck? Here's my family. They're, none of them lived in Washington, and here they are all there. And they said, well, you are super sick. It went to pneumonia. Now it's gone to ARDS, which is lung failure.
Oh,
And
God.
that's what usually kills people. That's the complications of pneumonia thing. So for SARS or COVID or whatever, once it gets to that point, they put you on a ventilator and you survive. So it would all kind of happen so fast. And my family was saying, well, you've just got to do this. You've got to do this. And so they were going to trach me, got my scar, and put me in a coma. And the doctor said, the last thing he said to me is, you will not remember anything that happens. You will be just like you're sleeping, and we're giving you white amnesia. So you won't remember a thing. You'll be fine. You'll be fine, or you'll be dead. I mean, there was no in between. They didn't add that last, but it was inferred, so I waved goodbye, kisses and all that stuff. My dad gave me a thumbs up, and I was gone.
Oh, so you were actually gone for like 3 weeks, you said?
Yeah, it was 19 days. Yeah. But somewhere in the middle of all that, I woke up and I thought, where am I? I was in total darkness, and it was no sound, nothing. It was nothing. I thought, well, my God, they put me in a closet. What's going on? And I didn't know what to do, because I didn't know if I was sitting on something or if I would fall if I moved. So I just kind of sat there or stood there. I didn't know, and waited. And eventually this like reddish glow started to happen. And I thought, well, maybe the sun's coming up or something, but it was foggy. And it got to where I knew I was in some place, and I heard moaning and screaming. And then this horrible voice came out of the fog that said, do you know where you are? And boy, my mind was going in circles, and being a good Catholic, I just said, hell? And this horrible voice came out. Scared the you-know-what out of me. I just turned and ran into the darkness. I didn't care if I fell in a hole or ran into a brick wall or what. I had to get out of there. And that was the beginning of a very long, horrible trip. That it was like scenes that happened. It was almost like a movie. And the first one was a bombed out, huge, big city that was completely bombed out, with buildings on fire and glass and concrete everywhere. And I thought, oh, that's what happened. There was an atomic bomb, and this is what's left. And I've survived. And that's all I could figure out. And so I had experience there with some other beings, and some of them were spooky, and there was like big creatures creeping around. And I thought, I had no idea what was going on. I just knew I was in terrible, terrible danger. And so I went to run at one point when some creatures were following me, and I fell. And when I got up, the scene had completely changed again. This was completely discombobulating, and I had no idea I was dead or alive. I mean, I just felt like me. It was still me. And some people say, well, did you have a body? Did you look down? I said, no, there was no mirrors. And I had no thought of it not being me. So
it wasn't an out of body experience. It was,
I was someplace, but it still seemed like Earth because of the fire in the city. And the next scene was believable. But then the third scene was a demon. I mean,
wow.
You say, well, how do you know it's a demon? Well, how do you know it's a kangaroo if you've never seen a kangaroo? I mean, you've heard about what they look like. There it is. There it is. And it was not nice. And it was big, and it was hulking, and it was just emanating this bad vibe. And of course, I was stunned, standing there looking at this thing, again, not putting two and two together. I just didn't know what to do. So he says, do you want to get out of here? Oh, I says, yes, I want to get out of here. Where's the door, man? I don't know how I got here in the first place. And he says, well, you just do one thing for me and you'll get out of here. And I said, well, fine. Okay, what is it? And he says, well, I need you to cut down this field of blackberry vines. And I turned and looked because it was dark except for him. And then all of a sudden this scene unfolded. And as far as I could see were these huge blackberry vines. I don't know if you've ever had an occasion to be around them, but they're very thick and they're covered with thorns and they intertwine. And in Washington, they're everywhere. And you have to cut them down at 6-inch lengths and put them in that was almost impossible. It was an impossible task.
Yeah.
And I looked at him like, what? And he says, well, you can just go ahead and despair now. Just give up. And I thought, despair? That's a strange world. He says, just give up and despair. And then that's all you got to do. And I thought, no, somewhere in my mind was, the worst sin you could commit was despair. And I says, no, I'm not going to give up. I'm a survivor. I won't get out of here. Sure, I'll cut these down. And I thought, well, it's going to take some time.
But you'll do it. Yeah.
I have time.
Yeah.
So he hands me these little scissors that kids use in kindergarten to cut paper. And I thought, he's toying with me. And I thought that made me mad.
Yeah.
And so I grabbed the scissors and I scooched down because now the vines were all around me. And I started gnawing away on this one really thick thing. And I thought, oh, my hands were starting to hurt. And I gnaw and finally got it cut. And I thought, okay. So I put the vine behind me, but it was hard because I kept getting all scratched. And when I turned around, the vine had grown back.
Wow.
I just looked up at that demon and he is laughing. And I thought, you know what? And I grabbed the scissors and I started cutting again.
It was a test.
Yeah. But now I'm someplace else. So more things kept coming up and one got worse than the other. And sometimes I was on this road. I would just boom into this place where it was dark as far as you could see, just a little bit of red glow in the distance. And it was all rocks, no vegetation. And there was a obvious path or a road that went to one direction and then another. And it was all flat. So you couldn't tell where to go. There was nothing at the end of either road. So I thought, well, at least I was safe for a while and maybe I could find a way out. So I would just start walking and walking and walking.
Did you ever get past that blueberry? Those vines?
No, that just disappeared. Then I would just get in another situation on the road. I came to a spot where there was a person that was, it was like Twilight Zone. None of it made sense. I couldn't understand why I was there and why these scenes were being, where I was participating in them. The one scene, I had been walking for so long, I thought I was on a treadmill. I thought, this is crazy, and I was hungry and I was tired. And that's again why I didn't think I was dead. I just still felt like me. And I got to a place where on the road where there was a woman preparing all this food, this beautiful food. She had tables and tables with decorations and fruit baskets and the smells were amazing. And I asked her, I says, excuse me. And she turned around and Barbara was one of my relatives that was alive.
Oh.
Again, I thought, well, now how did she get here?
She
didn't recognize me.
Oh.
And I said, I called her name and I says, could you please just get me a little plate of something? Hon? I see you've got all this food here. I just need a little something. And she and I were very close. And she says, this is for important people.
Oh.
Zing.
Wow.
I thought, what? And she just turned her back. And I was crushed. And I thought, where am I? And what is going on? So I got back on the road and other,
So you never ate? She never gave you any food?
Nothing.
Oh.
Sent me on my way. Yeah, well, it was interesting. And later I found out why. But anyway.
So where did you go after her?
I kept walking on the road, and I came to what appeared to be a terrible village of some sort. And I could make out, it was so dark, but just enough light to where you could see some things, and the rest of it was dark. But there were like beings that were walking and shuffling around. If I had to say where it was, I'd say Night of the Living Dead. They looked like zombies, just kind of lurching about, and their clothes were all torn. And I thought, oh, I am in serious trouble now. This does not look good. And they were just kind of mumbling to themselves. And I thought, oh, I've got to get the road went through whatever village this was. And so I had to get on the other side. And I thought, I need to be quiet. I need to keep my eyes down, not make eye contact, and just kind of shuffle through the crowd here and get to the other side of the road that I could see once some distance. So I did that. But as I started walking and got deeper into these shuffling people, or whatever they were, they stopped and they turned toward me. Obviously, I put off a vibe or something. And I thought, oh dear, this isn't good. And so the women, the ones with kind of floppy dresses on, backed up, and the men formed a circle around me. And I knew that was not going to be good. And it wasn't. And they attacked me, and they beat me, and they kicked me, and they did other horrible things to me. And I just protected myself as best I could, but I was really outnumbered and overwhelmed, and it was awful. And they backed up, but not before one of them leaned over in my face with his skin falling off and said that we all have AIDS, and now you have it too. And the bad thing is, you can't die.
Wow.
Again, Barbara, I mean, there's no way to explain how horrible all this was. And so eventually some demon lady came over and said, you're with us. And then we went on a trek through snow up to here, and cold as hell is a real thing. And went to this horrible shack thing where we were told we were going to wait for customers. And that was I was getting tired. By here, I thought, I know I can't despair. I can't give up, but I'm getting really tired. And I don't know how much longer I can hang on.
Take it all.
There was no place, there was no help coming. And we were waiting, and it was cold, and the other ladies were all just sitting there all dejected. And I asked that demon lady, I says, I've been here a long time, and it seems particularly sad right now. Is there a reason? And she says, well, on Earth, it's Christmas. That's always the worst day in hell.
Oh.
So I hear Christmas, I hear Earth, I hear hell.
Mm-hmm. So,
and again, it just made me mad.
Uh-huh.
So I just started singing Away in a Manger. I thought, well, heck with it. It's Christmas. They're probably not going to like it, and that's probably okay with me.
Yeah.
So I started singing, and she yelled. She had mingled over with some of the other ladies, giving them fits, and she turned around and said, stop that. And I just thought, oh, good, I've got her goat. So I kept singing, and another couple of the ladies sang along too. And now she's coming at me with her stick, because we got to the part where the little Lord, and she shrieked, and I covered my eyes, and I thought, well, I'll end up somewhere else. And I did. Because when I opened my eyes, it was bright light.
Bright light. Oh, wow.
Bright light. And I thought, well, now what? But I was like infused with all this love and joy and bliss, and all that had happened before me was just completely wiped out. And I was like swimming in love is the only thing I can figure. It was just glorious.
God's love. Mm-hmm.
And I looked around, and there's my friend who had just died the month before I did, my best friend. And he looked wonderful. He had been 53 when he died. Now he looked 35. And he, last time I saw him, he lost all his hair and he was all mottled with leukemia. And now he looked wonderful. And he was wearing a sweater I gave him. Wow. And he's looking so happy, and he's so happy to see me, and I'm so happy to see him. And it dawned on me, he doesn't know he's dead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I said that in my mind, and he really started laughing. And I thought, wait a minute, if he's dead, then I'm dead, and I'm in heaven. And I was so happy. I was so excited. I was so happy. And he was there. And I says, well, why are we just standing here? Go show me stuff. Let's go see stuff. And then he just kind of wasn't into that. And I thought, what's going on? And I looked around and I saw this, like an architect's table. It was a high table with this huge book on it, opened about halfway. And I looked at that and I thought, wait a minute. He was showing me something in that book. What was it? And I thought, all I remember is I said, oh no, that's going to be too hard. I want to stay here with you. And he said, now, Mary Kay, which is what he called me, you've got too much left to do.
Wow.
I thought, oh my gosh, they're throwing me out. And I said, no. I crossed my arms. I remember stamping my foot, and I still felt like I had a body. And I said, no. And he just smiled.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I was not there anymore. I did have kind of I call it my timeout road that they gave me. I was so furious. I was hopping mad. And it was like this beautiful field. And I walked down this stream, and I got further and further down the stream. I met 3 different ladies there who gave me things to give to the fellow that I had been dating. And they spoke a language I did not know. And I just said, sure. And all of a sudden, it's bright light again. But it hurts. And I see these people standing around, and they're my family.
Oh.
And I couldn't move. I was having trouble breathing, and I was very hot. And I thought, what in the heck? What new fresh hell is this?
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're all, yay, mom's back, and they're. And
you came back into the room.
Yeah, in the ICU. And I've still got the thing in my throat, and I've got tubes everywhere. And because when I was always a thin person, I was about 105 when I checked in. Now I was 86 pounds.
Wow.
I had no muscle mass, literally skin and bones. That's why I couldn't move. I had no muscle mass left. And they're all excited, and they're telling me how they prayed that I'd be, saved and come back. And Barbara, it was so good that I could not talk, because I would have been quite rude about them bringing me back. I didn't want to be back. Wow. And then to be in this horrible, debilitated, and it's ringing in my ears, you've got too much left to do. And I thought, that's another joke. It's another joke.
Not.
So
no.
I was not a happy camper.
Wow. So so now you came back. Thank God you came back. I mean, really?
Not really.
But the family was happy you did. So
most of us were, yeah.
And
but yes,
so how long did it take till you finally got out of the hospital?
Well, I was another week in the hospital. They had to take the trach out and give me this thing in my throat till I could learn how to talk again. You can sound like a robot talking, but at least you could talk. And then I had to wait till this healed up. That took a long time. Well, actually, it just had to start to heal. They had to make sure it wasn't infected, because it took another month for it to heal up in the rehabs. But I had to go to a physical rehab facility for a month and learn how to do everything again, learn how to eat, crawl, walk, button, everything. I had to get all my muscles, well, at least enough muscles back to be able to walk. Right then, I was like a rag doll. They had to tie me to a chair because I just flopped over. I still had a lot of x-rays to go through to make sure that it wasn't, the syndrome had cleared itself. And then, of course, my lungs were scarred and a mess. And one of them collapsed while I was still in the rehab, and they had to put a tube in and drain it and awake. they did this when I was awake.
Wow.
It was just not fun, so
Wow.
a whole month there. And then I went home, and it took me a good year to get
back.
Get enough strength and stuff to be able to. And then I was haunted by this hell thing. And I thought, oh, darn it, now I'm gonna have to die again and go back to purgatory or hell, whatever it was. And before I can go to heaven again, I was so depressed.
Wow.
And I didn't know why. But I was, I'd always been a writer. I always had diaries and journals and all that stuff. So I thought, well, maybe if I just start writing this stuff out, it'll get out of my head and I can get on with my life. So I wrote and wrote and wrote, and I'd stick it in a drawer and write some more and write some more. And then it didn't go away. And nobody could tell me what it was. The doctor says it was the drugs. And I says, didn't you tell me I wouldn't be able to remember anything?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember.
And so, very well.
I don't know. So, and my parents, my family didn't want to hear about it because they didn't want to know, what did you do to go to hell, Kathy? Well, it's like, I was a person. I didn't kill anybody. I don't know. Yeah. So nobody was helpful. It took 10 years.
Wow.
To finally have these synchronicities started popping up, just all of a sudden, just these things. And I found myself at an IONS meeting in Seattle. And at first it was like, oh my gosh, look at all these people died and came back. Yeah. I was fascinated, but then all their stories were angels and happiness and butterflies and stuff. And I kept saying, anybody else have a bad experience? And they said, well, there's 3 or 4 books out there. There's Howard Storm and Nancy Evans Bush and a couple of them. So I read them cover to cover. And the only one that really resonated with me on a big level was Nancy Evans Bush. And she's a wonderful lady. She's written 3 books and she's very learned. And she saw the Buddha in hell. That's the name of one of her books. And long and short of it, it tends to be that the brave people are the ones that have the bad experiences. They are ones that bring back messages for the rest of us that to share. And what I was to bring back was, you don't have to go to hell. One goes to hell because they manifested. I manifested my hell. That's why all those scenes were tailored. They were from things that actually happened in my life that I brought to hell and exploded into a bigger picture. And I really believe my whole life I was told I was going to go to purgatory after I died. There was just no ifs, ands, or buts. And I believed that. And I lived my life according to that. And so I wasn't disappointed. I got to go to purgatory, which is hell, but you get out. And but I'm just here to say, no, God is all loving and all forgiving. And 85% of the people go straight to heaven. If you're going to hell, it's because you chose it unwittingly. And don't do that. So
yes,
you don't do it. Skip the trip, believe me.
Oh, that was a tough trip. It
was a tough trip. And I just don't recommend it.
You moved through it. You were determined not to stay in those situations.
That's why I was the misfit in hell.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I wouldn't cave. And that's why I went, I guess. And I believe now that we all plan our lives. So I must have volunteered for that trip. And now, it's been 22 years. The thing is still as fresh as yesterday in my mind. And I've written a book, which has been helpful. The book is about my whole life. It's not just this horrible, fearful hell thing. Right. And what I told you about, just who I am, what my beliefs were, what happened, and then what happened afterwards, and how I came to all these decisions, and the wonders of IONS and people with near-death experiences, and people like you that have these podcasts that allow people to come from all walks of life and give positive things for people to integrate into their lives. I bless you, Barbara, for having the guts, to actually take time out of your life and work toward helping people.
Yeah, because we need to learn. We need to know more and not be so afraid of things, that are, that may happen or may not, happen. And someone like you that have experienced, I mean, I cannot fathom for the how this would be. I cannot. So, I mean, I had a near-death experience also, but I went to the light, and so all my dogs, my relatives, and my grandma. But then my grandma, as I was about to touch her, she threw me back, and I woke up gasping for air, and I knew I died. But that was a different kind of. I was in, like you mentioned, the beautiful light tunnel, and where I felt love, and I felt calm, and I felt peaceful and tranquil, and I wanted to stay there too.
Sure.
But she said, "Oh no, you got stuff you got to do," and threw me back, out. And this happened. So, what do you think you're supposed to be doing? I know you wrote the book.
Yeah, that took 20 years to write the book. I only finished it a year and a half ago, but people just kept bugging me about it. And finally I thought, all right, already. And it was funny because I thought when I sat down, I was just going to write the hell story. And then the gal that was going to publish this, no, you need 60,000 words. And I had 1,000. I says, what? I said, that's all I got. She says, no, you got to write, go write about what happened. And I just sat there in front of that computer, just almost in tears. And then, you know what? These stories started downloading from my relatives, and it was like they were saying, well, here, don't forget to talk about grandma, and remember the time that such and such. And I was like a stenographer. I'm typing like a fool, man. All this stuff is just coming in, and I'm having a ball. And then some of it was so sad that I had to keep a box of Kleenex next to that. Oh, Grandma, I'm so sorry.
I know.
It was just such a wonderful experience. And I kept writing. I kept counting the words, and oh my gosh, you got to 20,000. You got to get to 60. Whatever it was, I just kept going. And then I thought, well, I'll just do finding ions. So I put all that in there, and I still had 20,000 words to go. So I thought, well, I'll just go from there to now and what I learned. Another big thing I learned, and even I'm still human, so that there's that 1% of me that's still scared to death I'm going to go back to hell for some reason.
No, I don't think so.
I'm human. I still got this little brain, and it's in there. So I was talking to God a couple of years ago, and I says, I believe all this stuff, but can you give me some positive things to do every day so I can focus on positive instead of having this darn thing in the back of my mind? And it took a while, but he only gave me 2 at a time because my memory's terrible. But the first ones were, Kathy, just be loving and kind. That's all you could do. Just be loving and kind. And then it was merciful and forgiving. Encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. So every morning I get up, I got my little picture of Jesus, and I say, please help me to be loving and kind, whatever. And I've got it on bookmarks that I give to people. And so those are the positive things. And those are just the things that we were really taught, that the basic principle. I remember being in kindergarten, and I was first grade, and the nuns said, okay, in our little catechism, it says, who is God? God is love. Where is God? God is everywhere.
Everywhere.
What did Jesus say? Love God, love your neighbor as yourself. It all comes back to all the teachings just come back to the loving and kind.
Yes.
And then if you want to add the others to just kind of to remind me on non-judgmental is a big one for me. And so
big one for
I can't help it. I'm just that way, And so I really have to, if I could just every morning just remind myself, now just watch it. I try and be observant rather than judgmental. We're human. We're never going to make 100%.
No, and we, God does not judge us in any way. And I truly feel that, we make mistakes. Yeah, we're human. But the thing is to be more mindful, more aware of what we're saying and how we're feeling. And everybody has their own opinion, and we should just respect it.
Right. I don't know. You weren't there long enough either, but a lot of people that stay in heaven for quite a while, they get the life review thing. And I always found that fascinating because, okay, so if God's all loving and all forgiving, wait a minute, what happens? That doesn't seem right, but maybe because I'm human. But I love the fact that you get to, with the guides and everybody, just look at your whole life. As somebody says, like an IMAX, they got all these pictures, and you get to see every moment of your life and how you did, and it's not a judgment. It's not a karma thing. It's just how you did. And you get to say, I could have done a little better there, but I did well there. But the fun thing, or not so fun thing, is they flip it around and now you get a life review from other people's perspective. How did they feel interacting with you? When you said something harsh, what was the pain they felt? You get to feel that pain. And it's not a punishment. It's just an experience. You go to life to earth to have experiences. And so it's good feedback, oh, okay. And so that to me is, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I want to know how I did. And that's how we learn. And that's why we're here. Oh, it's so huge. All the things that go on in the afterlife, and with the people that have been the different planets and different galaxies and different dimensions, it's overwhelming. I try not to learn too much about it because you can get a headache thinking about all the stuff that's on the other side. But yeah, life here is just so little. Oh yeah,
there's a lot of people now that do research into this.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are coming forward, and I think more and more people are having them too. And look at all the COVID stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people who've died and come back. I'm really curious. So just a shout out, anybody out there was on a ventilator for a long time and had something really weird happen. Look me up. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. And on IONS, I've started a sharing group. They meet once a month on the second Thursdays, and it's online. And people who've had distressing near-death experiences or want to know more about it are welcome to join us on IONS for a sharing group.
Wow, that's all I can say.
Well, there's a lot left to do, and I just want to get it done so I can go home.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so do you think there's another book, in a different way?
Yeah, there's something going on. I don't think this stuff up myself. I just as soon retire, but it's not going to happen. I think what's happening for me now, I've been reading about, and every time I turn around, I'm looking at something that's called, I think it's called deconstruction. Deconstruction for people who have been in religions for all their life or for a long time and are questioning how that doesn't work anymore, especially if you've been on the other side and you experienced God. There's no rules there. Those are man-made rules, and they just exclude people. And God doesn't exclude anybody.
No.
So anyway, there's a lot of people out there right now taking a second look at religion. I think I know the people that are go over the other side usually come back and say, I go into spirituality now. I'm a more spiritual person. I'm not really a religious person. So I think something's going on with that. I'm paying attention to that.
Yeah, I think I know I've been killed in other lives as a healer. So in this lifetime, I finally was brave enough to come out and say this is but it took me quite many years until I was in my 40s to say, hello, we don't want this as corporate anymore. But yeah, but I've come back, even though, we're Jewish, and my son actually converted to Catholic. But it's his choice. I love him, and it's fine. And my daughter, knows no religion. She's very spiritual, and my husband and I are very spiritual, and I see things a lot differently, I guess, than a lot of other people. But again, I don't judge. If this is what you feel is right for you, then go for it. I'm happy for you, because then maybe you need to find God in a different, way. Religion, and because God, as you said, is loving and kind and wants just the best for us, and there's no judging, and I know for myself, every day when I wake up, I always say, thank you, God, that, for this new day. And, thank you for everything, no matter what may be coming, or just to be grateful and appreciate everything that we do have, because we always have everything that we need. I feel, not necessarily what we want. So, and with you, this has been some journey. I mean, oh, it's like, so now where do you coach people, or like, what are you doing now?
I'm spending a lot of times on podcasts. I think yours is my 55th in a year and a half. So, just that promotes the book. So I've been on them all over the world: Australia, Africa, Virgin Islands, England. And it gets the message out. It's not. You don't write a book to make money. If you do, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But it's a way to touch people and get the message out. So I spend, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours a day on the computer doing stuff for podcasts and the book, and that's just my job. My job now, and I love it.
And you love it, exactly.
Yeah,
just like I love doing this, the podcast. I've been wanting to do this for so many years, and then this is a new one, and this just started in August. And
good for you.
And I do it every week. There's a new one, and upstairs they've been like, come on, let's do it. But it's not about me. It's about me getting people like you. Right. And having people listen and understand. So, where can my listeners find you?
Well, the book's for sale, and it's MK McDaniel, and it's on Amazon, and it's Misfit in Hell, which I was, to Heaven Expat. And expat, somebody that works in another country and then goes home when they're finished. And that's what we all are. We start in heaven, do our work here, and go home. And so that's, and the website is the same thing, with a www and then Misfit in Hell to heavenexpat.com. You can find me on the IONS website when you look under sharing groups, and then I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I'd love to hear from people.
Oh, wow, Kathy, I cannot thank you for this interview. This has been an eye-opener for me. I mean, I honestly, I didn't think we would even go in that direction. So, wow.
Yeah, it's fun. Thank you for having me. See, we're both doing what we're supposed to be doing.
I know.
And it feels good when that happens, huh?
Yes, it does. It feels extremely good. And there's no anything attached to it, just the fact that we need to have people listen, and let them know that they're not alone.
Right. And they don't have to go to hell. Oh, man, that's a biggie.
That's a biggie. Please, I don't want to go there.
No, you don't have to. Don't do it.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for listening today. And a huge thank you to Kathy, and
thank you.
Buy her book, visit her on her website, and I hope that you heard what you needed to hear today. So please visit me at motivateyourlife.net and subscribe to this YouTube channel, The Spiritual Warrior Coach, because boy, I've had incredible guests just like Kathy, and we need to learn, and that's what this is all about. So, and for those of you may be interested in learning energy healing, check out my book on Amazon, Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-On Healing. So thank you for listening. Thank you so much, Kathy, for being here, and have a beautiful week filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara.